right, I think we're at the witching hour, as they say, in this beautiful, beautiful New York evening in May. Welcome, everybody. My name is Andrew Berman. I'm the Executive Director of Village Preservation, and we're so glad to see you here tonight for our 26th Plaque Unveiling, honoring Gertrude Vanderbilt Whitney on what would have been the 150th anniversary of her birth, more or less, give or take a couple of weeks. We've got some wonderful speakers who I'm going to introduce you to, but first I want to say a little bit about Village Preservation as well as our plaque program. So for those of you who don't know, Village Preservation is a neighborhood preservation organization that works to preserve the architectural and cultural heritage of Greenwich Village, the East Village, and NoHo. Since 1980, we've been documenting and celebrating these neighborhoods, fighting to stop inappropriate development while encouraging appropriate development, and advocating on behalf of their cultural institutions and independent small businesses. In addition, as many of you know, because I see some familiar faces here, we host about 80 free programs each year. Our events cover a wide range of topics related to the history, architecture, culture, and development of our neighborhoods. We're a member-based organization, so your support is essential to our capacity to provide this free programming and continue our advocacy and preservation work. If you like what we do or want to participate more in what we do, consider joining us or making a donation or finding out more through any of the literature that I believe we have, which is being distributed far and wide throughout the crowd. And if you want some and don't have it, just raise your hand and a member of our staff will make sure we get you. So we're brought here tonight by our historic plaque program. Our plaques are a great way to educate the public about the history of our neighborhoods and the incredible events, people, and movements connected to sites literally all around us. These incredible events, people, and these markers highlight the places where history was made and the figures behind that history, including people like Frank Stella, Francis Perkins, Jane Jacobs, James Baldwin, Lorraine Hansberry, Charles Mingus, W.E.B. Du Bois, and Martha Graham, among the many figures who we've commemorated in this program, along with sites like the former NAACP headquarters just around the corner, the Fillmore East, and Julius Bar, among other locations. This will be our 26th plaque that we've installed in our neighborhoods, and many of these honor individuals who transformed their field and whose work in some way changed the world. These tend to have been trailblazers and individuals who marched to the beat of their own drum. It's only fitting then that our latest plaque is located on a site where one of the most iconoclastic figures in the history of American arts blazed a trail so incandescent that it shaped the course of the arts in this country. Born 150 years ago in 1875 to great wealth, Gertrude Vanderbilt Whitney might have been expected to lead a Gilded Age life of indulgence. And it's not like she was roughing it. But at a time when women were peripheral figures in the art world, she was a force to be reckoned with. She trained as a sculptor and became an accomplished artist, creating work here in the building behind us in what was her art studio, which she shared with other notable artists of the day. But she left perhaps her biggest mark as an arts patron and as an idiosyncratic one at that. At a time when most collections centered on European art, she not only focused on American art, but launched the first museum devoted to American art, the Whitney Museum of American Art. Yes, let's give them a hand. Due to her efforts, it was here in this building that the Whitney opened to the public in 1931. We are thrilled to be unveiling a plaque here today that will remind the public of an individual who single-handedly transformed the cultural landscape of the city and charted a road for generations of American artists that followed in her wake. To help mark the placement of this plaque in honor of Gertrude Vanderbilt Whitney, we'll be hearing from 3 distinguished speakers. But before we do, I want to thank everyone at the New York Studio School for their interest in our plaque program and for their help and support throughout the entire process and for making this possible. Let's give the New York Studio School a big hand. and I say this at every plaque program, but I have to say it here as well, you'd think it would be easy to find property owners who want a plaque that honors the incredible history on their site. Not so easy. It's wonderful to have a great partner like the New York Studio School, as we did with the Whitney Museum last year, on whose building we also put a plaque. And I also just want to make note of the fact that it's such a wonderful example of the continuity and evolution and the virtuous cycle we see in our neighborhood. This building, built in the 19th century for very different purposes, then became art studios, then became a museum, is now the New York Studio School. So it continues to contribute in this wonderful, wonderful way to the life of our neighborhoods and our city. I also want to thank, before we get on to the speakers, Juan Rivero.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Juan manages this program and organized today's event. And I also want to thank all the members of the Village Preservation staff who helped. So first we're going to hear a word of welcome from Matthew Ritchie, who's the Executive Director of the New York Studio School.
I'm pretty new here. It's my 6th week on the job, so I'm learning a lot about the building, one of which is it's very, very old inside and outside. So just as you said you're shaking the cup, we shake the cup. Please donate, please come visit. We have real classes. You can still take life drawing classes here just as you could in Gertrude Whitney's day. It's just like she founded the tradition of women painting for models. We continue that tradition here. Right now our MFA exhibition is up inside. You're all welcome to come in and have a look. And I'm going to hand you over to our wonderful dean, who is somewhere around here, of academic affairs, to take it away. Sorry, Andrew? Oh, you're next. Sorry.
Thank you so much, Matthew. And I am going to introduce Caitlin, our next speaker. And just a reminder to keep the sidewalk open so folks can get through. So now we're going to hear from Caitlin McDonough. Caitlin is the Dean of the New York Studio School, where she has been on faculty since 2014. Her work has been exhibited throughout Italy, the United States, Serbia, and Turkey. Caitlin is the recipient of a Hohenberg Travel Award and has participated in residence at the Vermont Studio Center and in Göz-Göze, Bukada, Turkey. Did I get that right? Excellent. Welcome, Caitlin.
Good evening, everyone. Place holds a vibration. And here at the New York Studio School, it is a privilege to be able to work and create in the vibrational field established on this site by Gertrude Vanderbilt Whitney and so many of her contemporaries. A very accomplished and serious artist in her own right, Mrs. Whitney, as we've heard, was truly a discerning maverick. At a time when collectors and patrons were focused on Europe and European artists, she supported and elevated artists, many of them previously unknown, by collecting over 700 works here. The pioneering nature of her actions can truly be felt when one recalls that the Metropolitan Museum of Art declined to accept her offer to donate this entire collection to their holdings. And thank goodness they did, because as we heard, her collection became the foundation of the Whitney Museum of American Art right here where we stand on 8th Street. As we here at the New York Studio School work daily to prepare aspiring artists for a lifetime of art making, this shared mission of believing in artists, uplifting and supporting them before the market or external sources validate them, is something that we share with Mrs. Whitney with tremendous pride. Her studio behind me inside, with its remarkable Chandler fireplace of flames and mythological bas-relief ceiling, continues to be a place where art is made, debated, discussed, and celebrated, nearly unbroken now for a century. So on behalf of the New York Studio School, our students, faculty, trustees, and alumni, it is a tremendous honor to be here today as we dedicate this plaque and celebrate the extraordinary life work of Gertrude Vanderbilt Whitney. we seek to be good stewards of this remarkable place and to keep its vibration of vital, creative spirit in active use for artists and art lovers for the next 100 years and beyond. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. What lovely words. And finally, we'll hear from Scott Rothkopf. Scott is the Alice Pratt Brown Director of the Whitney Museum, as well as a former Deputy Director and Chief Curator at the institution. He's curated over a dozen exhibitions at the Whitney. Scott has also published extensively on the work of contemporary artists and served as a guest critic, lecturer, and panelist at numerous institutions such as the Solomon R. Guggenheim Museum, the National Gallery of Canada, and the Museum of Modern Art. Scott, welcome.
Thank you, Andrew, and thanks to Village Preservation for having me and for doing this great work with your plaques. Before I was a professional speechmaker, I was a historian, and I'm finding myself rather moved to be standing here 150 years after Mrs. Whitney's birth in the very place where she founded this museum almost 100 years ago. I've given a lot of speeches, but I've never done a plaque unveiling. So thank you for allowing this to be my first. I think I love that idea of this place having a vibration. And as I stand here, I think about the people who literally walked down this block and through these doors, even before this became a museum. I'm thinking of people like Stuart Davis, Kuniyoshi, Edward Hopper, Mabel Dwight, Howard Cushing. We're joined by his granddaughter today. So many of the, I'm sorry? Exactly, Gaston Lachaise. We can have shout outs to many of these artists. When Mrs. Whitney first set foot in this neighborhood, it was really just around the corner on McDougal Alley where she established her studio. And over time, she bought and rented and moved into different buildings all along this block, really, until landing here to found the first Whitney Museum. But that took more than 15 years, let's say, from the 19-teens to 1931 when the doors opened here. And why did she come downtown? You heard about her trailblazing taste, her vanguard interest in supporting American artists. But these were her friends, this was her community, and as you heard, she herself was an artist. And that was not something that was in any way common or even seemed to be appropriate for a woman of her bearing and birth, and certainly not her wealth. And this was something that she turned to for solace, for expression, in a marriage that was probably complicated because her husband was way more interested in horses than his wife or art. But that was good in some ways because it allowed her to develop other parts of herself, her talent, her advocacy, and her philanthropy. And you know, when we talk about that vibration and this being a place today that is inhabited by artists, by makers, that would be so perfect for Mrs. Whitney's view, really, of the cause and the raison d'etre of her philanthropy. When she started out, she made a club for artists. It was called the Studio Club. First there was the Whitney Studio, then there was the Studio Club. This was a place where artists could come and see exhibitions of really important and interesting work, even non-American artists like Picasso that she wanted them to know about. This was a place where they could come and get a free drink or a sandwich because they were hungry. They could ask her, if they were Edward Hopper or Stuart Davis, for money to go to Paris to learn about the European avant-garde, even to support their health care when they were in need. This is a place where they could take figure drawing classes, and Matthew and I were just discussing that women were able to come and draw the nude figure here, which was quite uncommon in the 19-teens, 1920s. Women didn't have access to nude models. And we have wonderful examples in our collection of the work of women artists who were part of that tradition. And so this is something that I take really seriously, that our museum grew out of this neighborhood and out of a shared passion and interest and love for artists. We are the only big museum in New York that was founded by an artist, and I think about that all the time. So just want to say how happy I am that the fourth location of the Whitney Museum is our current home, not far from here on Gansevoort Street. And this is a neighborhood and a community that we are so happy to be a part of. Hopefully for many, many years to come. I hope there's not a fifth location of the Whitney Museum, but you know, who knows what they thought. They probably thought this was going to be the forever location when they opened. And we want to keep giving back as much as we can to the life of New York, to artists. We're very proud to be free for everyone 25 and under all the time at the Whitney Museum. Please spread the word to be free every Friday night for everyone of any age from 5 to 10 p.m. and free the second Sunday of every month. And that's whether you're a New Yorker or not, an artist, whoever. We want to keep sharing all the gifts that Mrs. Whitney bequeathed us and so many more that we've gathered along the way. So thank you all for being here to honor this momentous occasion. Thank you, Andrew.
Scott, don't go too far. I'm going to ask you and the folks from the studio school and William to join me. Now is the actual unveiling. This is the moment we've all been waiting for. So actually, before we do that, come over. I want everybody to sort of grab a piece of this, so to speak. Actually, come around on the backside here. And we'll sort of all grab a piece. Yeah, William knows how to do the.
Do you want here? Yeah, here. I'll come in a bit so you can get your face in it.
What's happening?
There we go. There we go. So hopefully you can all see, but let me read what it says here. You leave that for now. Gertrude Vanderbilt Whitney, 1875 to 1942. Gertrude Vanderbilt Whitney founded the first museum dedicated to contemporary American art, the Whitney Museum of American Art, on this site in 1931. Next to it stood her own studio where she and other major artists produced their work. She is remembered for her singular contributions to the arts as a sculptor, collector, and patron. It's a pretty wonderful memorial. And as I said, this is our 26th plaque. And what's wonderful about this is it now allows people to walk by and learn this incredibly rich history that's here, which they might just pass by and never even know or notice. The materials that we have handed out will allow you to find out about all 25 other plaques in our collection. Some of them just a few feet from here, others much farther afield. It's a wonderful, wonderful history. And in addition to staying connected to village preservation, we hope you will be or stay connected with the Whitney and the New York Studio School, which are two great institutions that we're so proud to have part of our community. Thank you very much, everybody.